Clare Reed, CBT for Cancer therapist, and in this video I'm going to give you a good introduction to myself and also a good understanding of how I can help you no matter what stage you're at with your cancer treatment, and also if you're a supporter of cancer as well. So I'll start off with giving you a little bit of background of who I am. I've been working in CBT for a decade now, and this all started when I was working in the corporate sector. I worked in HR throughout my 20s and got to a good management level with some very good companies. And in one of those, towards the end of my career in HR, I actually did a course in CBT, and I found it so transformational for me. Just being able to apply some very basic rudimentary techniques to my own life was a revelation of how brilliant CBT is. And I actually stepped away from my job and resigned and set about training in CBT. So that's how I started off, and I never looked back. Over the last decade, I have helped so many people. In particular, I've been working with clients with anxiety and self-esteem because I really understand those areas. It's something that really resonated with me. I think very few of us work in the corporate world these days and don't suffer some anxiety or self-confidence issues. And that's what I've always focused on. And things were going absolutely brilliantly for a decade. It was fantastic. And then 2017 was, for me, one of the most horriblest years of my life because I got diagnosed with breast cancer. I have to say, looking back on it now, it does seem a bit like a dream. It seems very surreal that actually happened, and everything I went through is behind me. But it was one of the most extraordinary years of my life because it was the biggest learning year I've ever experienced. And I've got a couple of degrees and plenty of qualifications behind me, and none of it, absolutely none of it at all matched what I experienced in 2017. And it transformed me as a therapist because I went through the whole range of treatment. I had triple negative breast cancer stage 3, so they had to really throw everything at it. I went through chemotherapy and radiotherapy and an operation as well. It was a very difficult year, obviously, but it's how I handled it that really taught me how far I've come with CBT as a therapist. I gave myself 2 days to feel sorry for myself after my diagnosis, and I think we can all have a couple of days of feeling sorry for ourselves. And then I set to work applying the techniques which I knew like the back of my hand, but I actually hadn't really applied to myself over the last decade. I'd done a lot of work coming out of the corporate world on myself using those techniques, let me tell you, but I never really had a lot of problems to deal with since really in the last number of years. So suddenly, not only was I a CBT therapist, I was a CBT client, and I worked so hard on myself that I know techniques work on anyone with cancer. They're going to work brilliantly. And it transformed my outlook from the get-go of applying those techniques. I felt in charge, I felt calm and relaxed through a lot of my treatments. So, at the end of it all, I took a good look at my own business and decided to make a switch. And I think every 10 years a switch is probably a good thing, but this time, this is a very important switch because I switched to focusing on cancer. Having gone through it, absolutely knowing the different stages of treatment and understanding the gamut of emotions that come up, I know that I'm in a brilliant place to help you with your cancer journey. No matter whether you're at the diagnosis phase, at the treatment phase, or you're out the other side and are struggling, and we'll explain more about that later. I'm also in a good position to help supporters and carers of people with cancer who are struggling, because I too have actually been on that side with my own mother who had breast cancer, and I understand the stress and the emotions that come along there. So what I did after I got through all of my treatment and got my brain back a little bit more than it was during my chemotherapy, I set about doing some further studies, and I have qualified in a number of areas that are very specialised for cancer. Nutrition for cancer, exercise for cancer, pain management for cancer, and also integrative oncology. because I really had to understand more about the oncology treatments and how the integration of lifestyle changes can really help and be a brilliant accompaniment during chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So whether you've got cancer, whether you're supporting cancer, book in a session with me and let's get started, because the sooner you do, the sooner you're going to start feeling like you're in charge of things and that you can cope. The first session with me is a 20-minute free pre-therapy session. So that's where I get to know a little bit about you as an individual and what you need, and you get to ask me as many questions as you like about how CBT works. And from there you can decide if I am the therapist you want to work with on this, and then we can book in some sessions after that. So don't hesitate, book in and let's get working.